Hey, this is Alex, and we're at Web Congress in Miami, and we're talking about mobile SEO today. How's it going?
Pretty good.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and what do you do at Mobile Moxie?
Okay, so my name's Cindy Krum, and I'm the CEO of Mobile Moxie, which is based in Denver, Colorado. We specialize in mobile SEO and mobile marketing consulting.
Excellent. So mobile is essentially new, and mobile SEO is probably even newer. What are essentially the best practices of getting your mobile website set up for search engine optimization?
So mobile SEO has changed a lot in the past year or so. I've actually been talking about mobile SEO for years, since before the iPhone existed. But in the past year, Google's come out and said specifically that they prefer responsive design solutions. Now, that doesn't mean that if you have an MDOT, you're never going to rank, but what they've said is it's easier for Google to crawl one set of pages and index one set of pages than it is for them to crawl and index two sets of pages and kind of marry them and share the value and stuff like that. There's a lot more risk that they'll get confused when there's two sets of pages when if it's all responsive on one set of URLs.
So in the search world, if you have an MDOT and you have a regular landing page, let's say, is it considered duplicate content?
No. It's definitely not considered duplicate content, especially if you've done what Google is asking people with MDOTs to do, which is to set up code on the page it's called rel canonical and rel alternate, or bidirectional tagging is what they call it. And so you set up a rel alternate on the desktop page with a link pointing to the mobile page. And on the mobile page, you set up a rel canonical with a link pointing to the corresponding desktop page. Now, that assumes that you have a one-to-one page ratio between your mobile site and your desktop site, which most companies don't. So it's a bit problematic.
And when you're creating responsive pages, which are the page which conforms whatever browser size that you're using, if you are hiding stuff with like display none and stuff like that, is there really, I guess, what tips would you recommend when you're anticipating SEO improvements on your responsive pages?
Please tell me you're not hiding things with display now. So that's a pretty old school tactic. Most people don't do that anymore. There are ways of sending variable sets of content to one URL based on device. And what Google calls that is selective serving. And it used to be called cloaking. But now if we call it selective serving and you change some things in your HTTP header, you're fine. But go ahead and read the guidelines. Don't just do that. Read the guidelines. But the problem with something like what you're saying, doing a display none, is one of the really important things for mobile SEO is load time. Google really cares about load time. They've launched the Google Page Speed tool, and they actually just relaunched it, and they just added page speed to Google Analytics. They really care about page speed. And the problem with just using CSS to hide content is that it still has to load, that you're still sending it and then just not displaying it. So you're not decreasing the number of round-trip requests to the server, which is a big deal. You're also not decreasing the total file size or weight of the page. So that's definitely not the way to go. Better way to go would be to do selective serving. And you can selectively serve individual elements on a page, or you can just selectively serve an entirely different page. So it's kind of like having an MDOT in a desktop site, but you set up your server to send the page based on the device, and you send it on the desktop URL, the existing URLs with all the great SEO value already.
That's a great tip, and I definitely should be doing that a lot more than I am. So getting people to click on your mobile listing, I guess. Does it come into play more when you're doing like local map related stuff, or is it do you anticipate it when someone's just randomly searching on their phone? How are you really determining how to optimize for?
So it obviously depends on what you're selling and what your product or client is doing. Local represents about 30% of the mobile searches, so local is definitely a big deal. And there are things that you can do, whether you're local or not, to make your listing look better. And that's a bigger portion of what I focus on with mobile SEO than what others are focusing on in desktop SEO. Because you have such a small screen real estate, you really have to make your listing look awesome.
Yeah.
Aside from ranking well, it has to look touchable, right? Clickable. So the things you do to do that are usually things like schema.org, micro formats, anything that you can do to get a picture, a star ranking, or additional information in the listing is a huge deal. And then, of course, with local, if you can get on a map result, at the top of a map result, that's a big deal too. And that has to do with getting submitted to the right directories, as well as working within Google Plus for Business, and getting your star rankings high and stuff like that.
So if you were, let's talk about local space, if you were marketing a local retailer, is it important that they get reviews on their Google Maps pages? Does that play into Google authority and how that algorithm really works?
Yeah, absolutely. So Google Places was kind of eaten by Google Plus, and so you used to be able to optimize your Google Places listing, but now you have to optimize your Google Plus for Business listing. Yeah. And I actually just wrote an article on Search Engine Land about this yesterday, because that's caused a lot of problems for some kinds of companies, especially companies like doctors and daycares, where you wouldn't necessarily want the whole world following you that closely, because within Google Plus it was very difficult to leave an anonymous review. And so that was deterring a lot of people from leaving reviews. And so star rankings on those weren't really moving anymore, where they were before, because you used to be able to leave the anonymous reviews. Right? So star rankings are huge, and if you check out the article, there is a workaround for that, but it's not a very good one. It's cool, but the way Google is organized is not very convenient, and most users won't do it. Probably only SEOs would do it. So it's probably going to get shut down pretty soon. But anyway, it's a good article.
That's great, because it's and we'll link to your article in the show notes for the show. So I guess in closing, what would you say to the person who's just trying to optimize for mobile? Does it really come down to the old tactics of keywords, or is it the new tactics of sharing? Is there a gray area? Or really, what are some best tips that people could be optimizing their site for mobile?
Okay, so if you're just getting started now, then you need to build responsive. Don't bother with an MDOT. Don't bother with separate content. If you already have an MDOT, you have to understand that what Google is really good at is evaluating desktop pages. They're not really great at evaluating mobile pages. So you have to do a great job at pairing up your mobile pages with the corresponding desktop pages so that Google can pass the desktop value onto the mobile pages. And Google has some pretty clear guidelines about how they want you to do that. So do that. You asked about social. Social is definitely bigger in mobile, and it can move the lever more, but also things like videos and images tend to rank better in mobile search, because mobile search is more engaging, more interactive, and people need faster information. So videos and images are great for that. So if you're not optimizing the assets on your site other than the text, like the videos and the images, then you might be missing out there too. So do all those things as well.
One last question. I know Google Plus is improving basically every day. There's so much going on with that. When you post on Google Plus and then you get people to essentially comment on you, do you feel that that's contributing to your search factor? Yeah,
absolutely. A couple of companies I know have done studies that show that posting an article on Google Plus is a great way to get it crawled and indexed really fast. So if you're not doing that, you need to be, if only to get your stuff indexed faster in Google. And then obviously driving engagement within Google Plus, although it's hard because it's mostly Googlers commenting on their own stuff. But if you do have real friends or real people within Google Plus who care about your business or your topic that you're posting on, then getting the engagement there is super useful.
That's excellent. This has been really of value. But let's close by telling people how they can get in touch with you.
Yeah, sure. So my website is mobilemoxie.com, and I'm available on Twitter. You can tweet to @mobilemoxie.com or find me on Facebook. Pretty much anywhere you look, I'm there.
Awesome. Thanks for your time.